A huge resignation and armed bandits derail a train. 2021 comes in with a bang. It's time for another episode of Bells and Whistles. Hello everyone, Bill Wilson, Editor-in-Chief of Railway Track and Structures magazine, with a look at the top news stories we were following the week ending January 8th. A freight train carrying automobiles was intentionally derailed by armed vandals who cut the tracks in Ocosingo, Mexico, which is about 100 miles away from a Volkswagen assembly plant in Puebla, Mexico. The train was headed to the port of Veracruz when it derailed. No injuries were reported, but some of the cars fell into a ravine, some were partially overturned, and others were completely overturned. The National Transportation Safety Board has issued a safety recommendation regarding placement of Department of Transportation 111 rail tank cars in high-hazard flammable trains and the use of buffer cars for the protection of train crews. The recommendation requires all trains have a minimum of 5 non-plate-carded cars between any locomotive or occupied equipment transporting hazardous materials, regardless of train length and consist. The recommendation stems from 2 separate derailments of high-hazard flammable trains in Draffing, Kentucky and Fort Worth, Texas, which resulted in breached tank cars and hazardous material fires. Colorado Pacific Railroad is trying to break up what it believes is a monopoly following the announcement that Rio Grande Pacific and Union Pacific came to an agreement to rehabilitate the Tennessee Pass Line in Colorado. Colorado Pacific will be filing a protest with the Surface Transportation Board, asking the agency not to approve the Union Pacific deal on the grounds that the Class I railroad company maintains its, quote, monopoly stranglehold across the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, unquote. An estimated $278 million would have to be spent on the Tennessee Pass Line to rehabilitate about 160 miles of track, which have been dormant since 1997. Calling the violence at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th traumatic and entirely avoidable, Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao announced she is resigning effective Monday. On her Twitter page, Chao said it was an honor of a lifetime to serve the U.S. DOT. However, in a letter sent to colleagues at the agency, Chao said she was deeply troubled over the events that took place in Washington, D.C. Chao is currently the highest-ranking member of President Trump's administration to resign following the violence that killed 5 people. Well, that's a look at the top news stories we were following the week ending January 8th. For the latest news, go to www.rtands.com. You can also find us on social media. We are on Facebook and Twitter. Have a great weekend, everyone.